Hi there. This is episode 23 of my series 100 casts, in which I will be casting over 100 games of League of Legends sent in to me by friends and fans. If you'd like your replay to be featured on the series, check the description and you can figure out how to do that down there. Anyways, hope you enjoy it. I'll see you at the end. Let's get started then, shall we? Alright, so getting right into the comps with this one. Actually, wait for it to play. There we go. Sorry about that. Getting right into the comps with this one, we have on purple team in the bottom lane is a Sivir and a Thresh, and against them is going to be a Braum and a Miss Fortune. Now, Sivir and Thresh, Braum, both of those matchups, actually, the Sivir Thresh and the Braum Miss Fortune are very brawly bot lanes. They're fairly short range, both of them. And both of them have very, very high burst potential. So it'll be a really interesting bot lane to watch. Probably going to be a lot of fighting going on. What with also, while I'm on the topic of bot lane, there's a nice little mechanic between Braum and Miss Fortune that I like. Braum's passive, the one which stacks up to 4 hits, and then once 4 hits have occurred, the enemy is stunned. It counts Miss Fortune's double up, and I believe even the second bounce of Miss Fortune's double up as an auto attack for the purposes of determining how many stacks of Braum's passive are on an enemy. So Braum and Miss Fortune can very quickly stun out an enemy if they get hit by that Braum passive, since Braum's Q and auto attacks apply it, and the Miss Fortune can double up to apply it as well. And Yasuo has been caught out in his jungle here by the LeBlanc, and Kha'Zix goes down pretty low, but blue team, not wanting to give up on this blue buff right away, is coming in to contest it. They dropped a ward over the wall. Red team has it fairly well warded up as well, one on both sides of the wall. LeBlanc taking distortion first, going to run away over that wall before the Braum passive stacks too high and stuns her up in a disadvantageous position. The Victor face-checking into 2 enemies of red team, forced to flash away. The LeBlanc follows after with a flash. Maybe Braum can save his life. No. The Kha'Zix flashes forward and finishes off that kill. LeBlanc, though, in a dangerous position. Her passive is popped. She flies away with distortion. Can she survive? She gets ignited, and then a final auto attack from Miss Fortune will take that out. 1 kill going over to both teams so far. However, there's still some dueling going on. Kha'Zix getting stunned by the Braum passive procs by Miss Fortune. Miss Fortune having taken her AoE slow first, is able to slow down the Kha'Zix, but a heal coming out from Nasus, actually, who took heal in that top lane, is going to be able to save Kha'Zix's life with that extra health as well as the speed buff. And it looks like Kha'Zix is going to be reduced to starting off the Wraith camp first, because he went down dangerously low in that engagement as Warwick starts off on his blue buff. In the end, blue buff not getting taken and a kill going over to each team. Purple team did get first blood, so they have a 200 gold lead, but that is all really that has occurred despite all of that action early on in the game. And while I had a little bit of a break from the surprisingly early action, I would like to apologize for the lack of sound effects once more. My League replay client bugged out and would not play back any sound effects for this game. It is a rather old match, so that might be part of the reason why. The replay was sent in to me a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, and even then it was a few weeks old, so it's had some time to age and sit around in my YouTube, in my Gmail inbox, so I apologize. I have gotten a bit more replays than I expected, as Thresh is caught out here, slowed down by the Braum. Braum then getting exhausted, so he can't chase down the Thresh. 3 stacks of his passive, but not the 4th, landing on the Sivir, who does manage to kite him back before that can happen, as up in the top lane, Yasuo and the Nasus have both traded back and forth with each other. Nasus does have his second summoner down, though, in the form of heal, and Yasuo has his up as they're going to duel out. Can Yasuo finish this off? No! The Nasus getting the early kill up in top lane there, taking out Yasuo with a final siphoning strike, bringing him down and putting it 2-1 in terms of kills for purple team. That's certainly going to hurt Yasuo, since Nasus didn't really have the advantage early in that lane in terms of matchups, and now is going to be giving an early kill to someone who's a late game hyper carry is just one of the worst things you can do, since it sort of negates the need for them to play back in the early game. However, Nasus, now out of mana, being chased out by the Yasuo, does get forced to use his flash, does go down nearly to death there, but doesn't quite die, just having his flash burned, whereas the Yasuo's is still up, so he could maybe take advantage of that. However, Nasus is going to be coming back with some items. He's going to be going with a health crystal and a longsword. Looks like he's rushing for a high damage build early on in this game, going for what appears to be a Trinity Force Rush on Nasus. The Q, Siphoning Strike, does proc the Sheen active from Trinity Force. The Ignite landing onto LeBlanc, and a Q from the Victor, gonna finish her off. That is Victor getting an easy kill in the mid lane. LeBlanc overestimating herself and going in with that distortion, doesn't realize that Victor can trade quite well with the fact that his Q not only damages the enemy for a good bit in lane, but also shields him. Shielding him, in fact, even if the enemy that he throws it at doesn't get hit by it. If a Fizz goes untargetable, he still gets the shield. Or if he throws it at a minion and the minion dies before the Q, I believe it's called Power Transfer. Yeah, Power Transfer, before the Power Transfer finally connects. If the minion dies before the animation completes and the Power Transfer connects, he does still get the shield. As up in top lane, Yasuo is being withered by this Nasus, going nearly down. Does he die? We swap down to bot lane to see some trade going on between the laners in bot lane. And no, Yasuo has not gone down. He's still up in that lane, though. Did buy a few health pots, has burned them at this point. Thresh throwing out a hook, but it goes wide onto Braum. And so a bit of a lull in the action again. Not for long, though, as Yasuo is dashing through the minions waves, going to be throwing out his knock-up onto the Nasus. Very nice kiting there. That is going to be an issue that Nasus is going to have against this Yasuo. Yasuo is very highly mobile champ, especially around a minion wave, so he's going to be difficult for Nasus to stick onto, since Nasus is fairly easily kited. However, Yasuo still nearly goes down there as we swap down to the bot lane, where Thresh has landed a hook onto Braum. Thresh goes down in the end, though, perhaps not wanting to really take that fight, and he does go down. The Miss Fortune picking up that kill, as Victor's just going to farm it up in the mid lane. He hits level 6 before the LeBlanc does. And this is, in fact, such an old replay that LeBlanc still has a silence, just so you know. So if you see that going off, don't cry foul at me and say she doesn't have that anymore, because she did at one point have a silence, and in this replay, this replay was taken at one of those points when she did. So it's not the client being buggy or my replay bugging out. No, my replay is only bugging out in that I don't have sound. The silence is actually happening in this game since it's a fairly old match. The Kha'Zix going after his second blue buff of the game, looking to give that over to LeBlanc, it seems like. She's going to distortion over the wall to pick that up. It also gives her level 6, which is convenient since she was behind a level in lane, and the XP from that blue buff going to be bringing her back into an even keel with the enemy laner, as Kha'Zix just continues to farm his own jungle. And while I have a bit of a break in the action, I would like to talk about this mid lane matchup, which I never got the chance to get around to. It is a Victor versus a LeBlanc, as you can see there, and I think that I honestly don't know the matchup that well, since Victor's a very uncommonly played champion, so his matchups are not all that fleshed out, really, as the LeBlanc's going to be going in with a distortion, lands the chain, and finishes off that kill with the second proc of the chain, despite being stunned up on the area of effects slow stun mechanic that the Victor has. I think it's called Gravity Well. Yes, it is, in fact, called Gravity Well. My memory does serve, and so Victor not able to save himself from that gank from the Kha'Zix, despite a fairly well-placed Gravity Well, as Yasuo is getting harassed again by the Nasus in the top lane. And we swap down to bottom lane, where Miss Fortune's farming under the turret. Yasuo does have his third charge up, as well as his ult. He might be able to throw that onto the Nasus. With Warwick coming up top, Warwick has level 6, but Nasus has a ward and is able to walk away, perhaps getting chased out by the Yasuo, though. If he can land the knock-up, he could maybe make something happen here. He does, in fact, land the knock-up, goes in with the ult, and the Warwick follows up with his ult, and under the tower, they take out the Nasus, who, opting for a high-damage build, so far at least, is not all that tanky, and so does go down to the Yasuo, who's been farming decently well this matchup, and so did not fall as far behind as perhaps he could have, as now LeBlanc and Kha'Zix have both roamed up top. Warwick is low on health. Nice wind wall from the Yasuo. They're going to be saving Warwick's life from that chain that might have killed him, as now Yasuo is in trouble. A second ult chain coming out from LeBlanc, but LeBlanc's auto is not enough to finish him off, and she didn't have anything else off cooldown at that point. And so both Warwick and Yasuo are going to be able to escape out of that roam from the LeBlanc, as well as the enemy jungler. And Victor has found a pink ward. Meanwhile, high action happening top lane, and equally high action happening in that little death bush by the Dragon Pit, as Victor found a pink ward. And Victor going for a roam of his own, coming down to the bottom lane. Lantern coming out from the Thresh, going to be maybe saving Sivir's life, though Victor is still here. Throws out the laser and the power transfer. Gravity Well is perhaps a bit late, stuns up the Thresh under his tower, then stuns up the Sivir, who's turning around with her ult. Has no mana, though, maybe doesn't want to go for this fight. Victor's still around, shooting out a laser to clear some of the minions out. He has chosen to buy the Augment Death, which is the one which makes his laser do an extra amount of damage. I believe it's a percentage of his AP on top of the damage it does as well. Basically just giving him more damage on the laser as a damage over time effect. It's the most commonly picked up Victor enhancement. His passive, by the way, for those of you who don't know, is that Victor gets a free item, which gives him AP based off of his level in his inventory, and can be upgraded in one of three ways. Either improving his shield on power transfer and giving him more shield as well as a speed buff off of the usage. Improving the gravity well and giving it a longer range as well as, I believe, a quicker stun, though don't quote me on that, I'm not entirely sure. But I'm interrupted here as Kha'Zix is coming down to the bot lane. Thresh getting the kill onto the Misfortune there, who turned around with her ult to try and make something happen, and now a beautiful hook from Thresh, going to be pulling the Braum out of his tower, but Braum does have flash up and manages to escape with barely any health left, as in the mid lane we saw that LeBlanc got a kill for herself, taking out that Victor, and overall it is 4 kills to 5 now, blue team having the 4 and purple team having the 5, as well as a 500 gold lead or so. Purple team taking the early game here in this one, and very probably being able to scale it into the late game, especially with that Nasus building some heavy damage up in the top lane. Looking to carry this match out, he goes under the tower onto the Yasuo, lands a Wither and then a Siphoning Strike, takes about a fourth of the Yasuo's health with that one Siphoning Strike alone. Yasuo now down below half, going to be using a health potion to try and sustain back up in this lane, using his Q judiciously to farm that minion wave. He's under tower, though, now. The Nasus not having enough mana to really want to go for the tower dive, and I don't believe his... No, his ult is up, but I don't know if he has enough mana to cast it. Yasuo perhaps realizing this, dashing in, but he does have enough mana for another Siphoning Strike that brings him quite low, and Yasuo then dashes right back out again, not wanting to take that trade with the hefty damage threat that is this top lane Nasus with the early kill in the game. However, looking at the scoreboard, Yasuo has managed, as I said earlier, to keep up on farm. He actually has 72 farm to the Nasus's 52, as in the mid lane, LeBlanc is going at this Victor. They're both quite low. They both traded approximately equally. Victor trying to shoot a laser onto her there, but she manages to sidestep it. As up in top lane, Nasus nearly going down to the Yasuo, going back under his tower. He's out of mana, so he's not really able to sustain these continual trades. As Victor flashes forward to land the Ignite onto LeBlanc, LeBlanc realizing that she's a dead man, turns around and just goes in with everything she's got and manages to kill off the Victor before going down, but that is a shutdown going over to Victor, and just a kill going to LeBlanc, so that is certainly a worthy trade for the Victor, as Thresh goes in on a hook, using his ulti to try and slow down this Braum, does pull him back with another hook, the cooldown being quite low since he landed the first one. He goes down, though, to the Misfortune ulti, face-tanking the entire bullet time from Misfortune, and Sivir is forced to run away with her ult up, as up in top lane, Yasuo is taking advantage of the fact that Nasus has backed recently and is going to be going for that tower, taking it out, and then throwing out his knock-up from the third proc of his Q to be able to dissuade the Nasus from chasing him out and going for that kill after he takes the tower. Braum using his shield to attack the turret there. I love Braum's auto-attack animation attacking turrets. He uses the top of his shield and just kind of rams it into the side of the turret. Braum has some of the best auto-attack animations in the game. I really like the direction that Riot is going in terms of variety for the champions. They have a lot more inter-champion voice lines. They have a lot more auto-attack animations. It's something that I feel, one of the few things that I feel League is lacking is that variety of the in-game animations and such. And it's something that they're really improving on, and they're doing a lot better with these newer champion releases. As Kha'Zix is coming in, burning his ulti, and then leaping in onto the Braum and the Misfortune. However, he underestimates their burst, and that is a red buff now on the Misfortune as she does take out the Kha'Zix, getting a kill for herself in that turnaround situation. As in mid lane, once more, LeBlanc and the Victor are going at it. The Nasus getting caught out in this lane by the Yasuo, goes down very low, forced to pop his heal to try and escape, but is not able to, as Yasuo has as many dashes as Yasuo needs, and he takes out that doggy, bringing him down. Victor and LeBlanc again going at it. LeBlanc flashing away as the gravity wall was about to stun her. Yasuo now roaming down from the top lane, maybe going to be able to get this kill, goes around the ward, so LeBlanc doesn't know that he's incoming. He's caught her under the tower, But LeBlanc is too slippery a target, as we see on the minimap, and is going to be able to escape. However, Warwick is coming around. The Blood Scent is active. Kha'Zix, though, is nearby, defending for his friendly LeBlanc, and Thresh is too. Lands a hook onto the Warwick. Kha'Zix leaping in. Warwick going down fairly low. Gets exhausted by the Thresh. Nice wind wall, going to be blocking a few auto attacks from the Thresh, but not much else, as the Warwick does, in fact, go down. That is LeBlanc getting another kill for herself. She's 5-3 at this point. Throws out the chain after dashing forwards towards the Yasuo, but the chain does not connect, and Yasuo is going to be able to get out of there safely. And we swap over to the bot lane, where some farming is going on. Got to get that good farm on for both of the AD carries. Speaking of which, they are pretty much, actually right now, they are exactly equal in terms of farm, which is a pretty good feat for the Sivir, seeing as her her counterpart in this game, the Miss Fortune, has 4 kills to Sivir's 0. So good on her to keep up in farm in that matchup, despite being behind in gold, certainly, and behind in items as well, the Miss Fortune having gone with a BF sword as opposed to the Sivir's Vampiric Scepter. Braum and Miss Fortune looking for a fight here. Braum gets hooked, does land his Q onto the Thresh. Does the Thresh get stunned? No. Sivir's ulti is going to give him enough move speed to get away from that last auto attack, which would have stunned him, as we swap back down to bot lane, where Miss Fortune channels the full duration of bullet time onto Thresh. He does manage to survive and flashes away from the ulti from Braum. The Miss Fortune then flashes forward and ignites him, tries to land those last few auto attacks to take him out. He does not actually go down. I expected him to. There's the Miss Fortune's chasing him under the tower. The Braum has died as a disastrous gank from Kha'Zix come in. And Miss Fortune does manage to finish off the kill onto Thresh, but goes down for her trouble, as in the mid lane, a lot of things happened at the same time. I'm sorry I can't see 2 places at once, but a few people died in the mid lane and a few in the bottom lane, as Nasus and LeBlanc also went down for purple team, and it looks like turrets are going to be traded out here. The Yasuo picking up the turret in mid lane, as Kha'Zix, actually Sivir choosing to back here, instead of going for this turret. Kha'Zix is alone now, going after this turret. He is able to take it down to about half health, but Warwick is on his way down with Victor. This might be dangerous if he sticks around for much longer. Yasuo at the inner mid turret now, taking some damage on that. Thresh shows up to try and dissuade him from doing so, and is going to be able to chase him off here. Is he going to try and land the hook? He doesn't have any backup, so no, he's not going to go for it, as Warwick's just taking his red buff there, going to smite that out and secure it for himself. And looking at Warwick's build, he's gone with the typical Warwick jungle item in the Wriggles Lantern, which is a good pickup. He's going to be farming out his jungle and getting those stacks for himself, and whereas the Kha'Zix has opted for what most Kha'Zixes will go for in the Spirit of the Elder Lizard, giving him some AD, and since he doesn't rely as heavily on auto attack speed, he doesn't really need the Wriggles Lantern or consequently the Feral Flare that it later turns into. LeBlanc getting bursted down there by the Victor after she gets stunned up on the gravity well, but now here comes the Sivir and the Kha'Zix going to be taking out that Braum. Thresh along with them too. Can the Victor survive? I don't believe so. Another leap from the Kha'Zix is going to finalize that kill. Actually, Sivir picks it up, and now perhaps they're going to be going for this turret, though actually they are pinging onto the dragon and Kha'Zix is peeling away in that direction. However, Sivir and Thresh have decided they want the turret more than the dragon and are going to be going after that, putting a turret onto the map for purple team here, while Yasuo has been split pushing mid this whole time and is going to take that out. Nasus under the tower being attacked by Warwick. Thankfully he doesn't have tower aggro. That might have been a lot worse if he had. And he goes down below half health now, being chased by the Warwick. He does wither the Warwick to try and slow him down. Pops his heal as well as Yasuo finds Kha'Zix and Sivir. Wonderful wind wall, going to shut down that Kha'Zix in the fight and get the shutdown gold as well. Sivir trying to flash away but not managing to. Another kill for Yasuo. A 1v2 double here. Can he get the triple? No, he cannot. That is a shutdown going over to LeBlanc. 500 gold for her, as Yasuo, coming out of that lane where he gave up a kill early on in the game, is now 4-2 and has the highest CS on the board, so he's certainly doing well for himself despite that early gaff in the top lane. Braum finding a pink ward, going to be trying to clear that out. He does see that LeBlanc is nearby, though, going to be going after her. Takes her quite low with his Q as Victor's showing up now. He pops his ulti just to ensure that she goes down to the Victor. Power transfer going to finish off that kill, and Victor getting a kill for himself, putting himself at 4-6. He's gone for a Liandry's Torment now, as well as the Augment Death, which means that his laser is going to be proccing for 2 heavy damage over time effects. The Liandry's Torment as well as the Augment Death, both dealing damage over time on, the Liandry's Torment dealing a damage over time effect on any spellcast which deals damage, and power augment death, dealing a damage over time effect on the cast of his E. Laser something. Death Laser? I'm not entirely sure of the name. Victor's an uncommon champion, and I haven't had as much opportunity to learn all of the names of his abilities as I'd like, as Yasuo is up in the top lane. The Wither wears off just in time for him to keep chasing through this minion wave. He's going to throw out the third proc with the knock-up. Does miss. However, he gets close enough to dash to the Nasus, who flashed away from that third proc, but still was not able to survive, going down to the Yasuo, giving another kill over to Yasuo, who is just starting to snowball out of control here, has a static shiv, and it looks like he's going for an Infinity Edge next. Sivir taking 3 stacks of Braum's passive. Miss Fortune, though, is not close enough to stack up the fourth. However, the double off bounces to her and stuns her up, as now Thresh is going to tank up some of the Miss Fortune's ultimate. However, Braum is too low to keep fighting with MF. Thresh does go down. Does MF want to keep fighting here? I don't really think so. She might go down. She does indeed go down. Sivir taking her out and then turning around onto the Braum, who tried to come and help out the Miss Fortune, but was a bit too late, and instead goes down to the Sivir for a double kill. Sivir really coming out big in that fight there, is now 4-1, doing well for herself, though it looks like she might be 4-2 soon, as the Warwick comes in, and just to make sure she goes down, the Victor uses his ulti and takes that out, giving himself his 6th kill of the game, as up in top, Yasuo, being the menace that he is, was able to force away that Nasus from the lane and take another turret. That is the 4th turret to Yasuo in this game, and in fact, the 4th turret for blue team, putting them in a 4-1 turret lead and about a 5,000 gold lead on the board up there. That's where a lot of their gold is coming from, those turrets. Yasuo caught out in the enemy jungle again. Can he make another double out of this? I don't really think so, as he's caught out by 3 enemies. He does do a wonderful wind wall, again taking out that LeBlanc's damage entirely in that fight. Flashes over the wall when he's barely alive. Can he escape here? That was some wonderful Yasuo play. Beautiful mechanics there. Instant wind wall to just shut down the LeBlanc in that fight, not allowing her to get any damage off. However, he is still being chased by the Thresh and the LeBlanc. The Thresh hook barely missing, just too far away, as he wind walls again to stop the Q that she was casting mid distortion. He does still go down to the to the auto attack and a chain under tower, but because it was under tower, he manages to get another kill for himself, going 2 for 1 in a 4-on-1 fight in the jungle and then an extended chase thereafter. Yasuo doing a lot of work for his team here in this game, doing quite well, showing us all how to wind wall over and over again in these multiple man engagements in the enemy jungle. Thresh throwing out a hook, but it goes a little bit wide on the Miss Fortune, and the Victor zones for his friends, throwing out the gravity well to keep the enemy team away and stop them from chasing them out, and blue team manages to steal that blue buff from red team, who are a bit in the hole at this point by about 6,000 gold or so, which is not an insurmountable lead, especially considering they have a Nasus and thus can scale fairly well into the late game, and the enemy AD carry for them is a Miss Fortune, which is just fodder for LeBlanc, who doesn't manage to get anything with that particular engagement, but because Miss Fortune is so immobile and LeBlanc has such high burst potential, she can very easily take out the Miss Fortune so long as she times her abilities correctly. The only thing is, the enemy team has a Yasuo and a Braum, as they are both going to be engaging onto the Sivir. Sivir goes down to the Yasuo, a double kill for him, as he then takes out Thresh after that. Lots of AoE CC coming out from the Braum and the Victor there to just keep those two standing still for the Yasuo, who's now diving under the tower after the LeBlanc takes her out, goes on a rampage, then gets another double kill for himself, does go down to the tower in the end, but that is 4 kills right now that Yasuo has picked up in short succession. I suppose the timer reset, so he didn't quite get the quadra there, but he did get 2 double kills, one right after another. Yeah, the Nasus does manage to take top lane out of this, but it looks like it's going to be worth it for blue team, since they did get 4 kills onto their Yasuo and are going to be probably getting this inhibitor as well. I apologize, for some reason the replay bugged out and the health bars on the inhibitors and nexuses are like a mile above the actual building, so you couldn't see it there, but the inhibitor did go down, as Warwick is now chasing after Nasus in the top lane, nearly brings him down. Nasus goes into his ulti and then withers the Warwick. Can he escape here? The Wither runs out, and Warwick has that speed buff from Blood Scent. He's going to be chasing after him. Braum is coming in to flank onto the Nasus. Braum, can you secure this for the Warwick? He doesn't want to take the kill. He's trying not to take it from the Warwick. However, red team has shown up in force, and the shield coming out from Thresh going to be saving the Nasus' life, and all because Braum wanted to be a good guy and not steal the kill. The Nasus manages to escape, and now The Miss Fortune is in trouble trying to flash away, but she's exhausted. She's going to be going down. The Kazakhs picking up that kill, and that is 3 kills going over to red team because Braum tried to be a good guy. That's a lesson, folks. Take the kills. Don't try and leave them for your teammates. Your teammates can't take the kills. Is Yasuo going to be going into a 1v4 situation, though I don't think he's going to be doing very well in this one. Yeah, not enough outplay going on there. Landing the ult onto only one person in the wind while not connecting with anything. Bit off a bit more than he could chew. Goes down in the end, giving shutdown gold over to the enemy team. Warwick, I talked about his build earlier. Went into the Feral Flare and how that's quite a nice item for Warwick. However, I talked about it before he decided to build his next 2 items, which is a Sword of the Occult and a Magi's Soul Stealer. I am just going to let those sink into you. That is a Sword of the Occult and a Magi's Soul Stealer on this Warwick, who is currently being tower dove, does go down as Miss Fortune's ulti crosses over the entire enemy team, but they're simply going to walk away at this point as Nasus being saved there by the Lantern. He might have been in a little bit of trouble if he had been hit by the Braum's Q. A teleport coming in behind the enemy team. Yasuo is going to be coming in onto a ward near that Wraith camp as Kha'Zix and LeBlanc are both on about half health here. Yasuo going to be dashing in, taking down the Kha'Zix nearly instantaneously with those crits, and then chasing after the LeBlanc after she distortions away, getting a double kill for himself there. Nasus now in a bit of trouble, being chased by Miss Fortune and Victor down the river. Do they have enough long-range CC to catch him? He's going to run into the Dragon Pit and flash over the wall. At least that's a flash burned, I suppose. Yasuo now going to be running towards top lane, wanting to push that out since they've already gotten mid. No, the Nasus still being chased after. Braum, oh, here's Warwick. He sees him in the jungle because of Bloodsend. He's going to be chasing after him, uses the ult to hold him in place, and then a Q over the wall from Braum, going to bring him low enough that one more Q from Warwick, going to be giving Warwick his first stacks of the game. 2 stacks on the Magi's and 2 stacks on the Sword of the Occult. This guy's not playing Warwick, he's playing Stackwick, stacking up those Feral Flares, Magi's, and Sword of the Occult. It's just, I don't really have anything for that build. As a caster, I don't have any games to point to in the past, any matchups to talk about. As up in top lane, Yasuo gonna be taken out by the Kha'Zix and LeBlanc. Did nearly bring LeBlanc down, popped her passive at least. But that's not really worth it for a death there. Maybe getting a bit too overconfident there, buddy. As Hook lands onto Braum, Lantern coming out to bring Sivir into the fight here. She doesn't want to take it though, doesn't want to risk that. There was a super minion nearby for blue team, so they would have had the advantage in that 2v2 if they had just gone for a straight 2v2. And yeah, I really don't have any words for the Warwick's build. I'm just going to say that I hope it works out for him. Braum getting caught out. Looks like things aren't working out for him. He's forced to pop heal to try and escape. Can he escape? He gets slowed down by the Void Spikes from Kha'Zix. Tries to juke in the bush, but Kha'Zix just turns around and claws him in the back rather than in the face, and he goes down. However, that was ample distraction for Miss Fortune and Warwick to take out the the inner turret, down in bottom lane, and that is only Inhibitor and Nexus turrets now standing for purple team as it's 7-3 lead. Blue team finding the Kha'Zix all alone in the jungle. His Thresh does show up in time to try and save him, pops down the box to peel as the LeBlanc going to be going in onto the Miss Fortune, taking out the Victor with the AoE damage, then taking out Miss Fortune as Miss Fortune brings her down, and Warwick dies. Oh, his stacks, they're reduced again. He still only has 2, and he goes down. And we see Sivir and Thresh going to be picking up that blue buff in the aftermath of this fight. Yasuo pops a ward over the wall, might go for this. He has been known to take on lopsided fights. Now he's choosing to go instead for the Nasus, deals some damage to him, knocks him up, but doesn't want to go in on that with his ulti as multiple members of purple team are nearby, and there are not multiple members of blue team nearby, so it would have been a bit too lopsided a matchup for this Yasuo to consider taking on and winning. And while we have a break, I would like to talk about the builds. I've already mentioned Warwick's, but we will move on to some of the other ones. As we can see that Braum is going for a heavy armor stack build here against the enemy team. Not really too worried about that LeBlanc, who's mainly going to be trying to assassinate the Warwick and... No, not the Warwick, sorry. That's the one person she isn't going to be trying to assassinate, aside from Braum. The Miss Fortune, the Yasuo, the Victor. She's going to be trying to take one of the main damage threats out, rather than spending everything on Braum. I mean, if she does choose to spend everything on Braum and Braum goes down, that's not really such a huge loss for blue team because that's most of the damage of one of the 2 major damage sources for purple team being used on a champion who's really only there to cast a few spells and then kind of exist for a little while. as Warwick is now trying to dissuade the Nasus from going for the tower. Nasus is determined, though. After Warwick's ult, he's going to pop heal. Now he's going to pop ult. Really wants this tower. Doesn't get it down, though. That's very tragic, as Yasuo has been split pushing bot lane this whole time. Got the inhibitor tower, going after the inhibitor. Beautiful wind wall on that Sivir Q. Going after this Kha'Zix first. Heal pop from Sivir, but he takes him out. Oh my god, that last breath from the Yasuo takes quadra kill. I don't even know exactly everything that happened there, but that is a 1v4 quadra kill from the Yasuo. Aced now for purple team. Yasuo playing beautifully this game for his team. Really, really doing a lot of work, taking a lot of the load, and really carrying forward his team in this match, as they are now going to be going for their second inhibitor of the game. Actually, I don't know if Yasuo actually finished off that inhibitor. Even if he didn't, he did a good enough job. Got a 1v4 quadra kill. Can't really complain that he also didn't get the inhibitor. It's not really fair to complain that, as they do get the middle inhibitor, though, and Misfortune, Victor, and Braum are just chilling in the enemy base. The Braum gets withered by the Nasus, but he is, as I said, building a lot of armor, and so is very tanky versus that Nasus, who is actually opting for a full damage build, it seems like. He's gone with a Trinity Force, and he has the components for an Infinity Edge. Thresh landing a nice hook onto Victor, gonna be his death, as the Misfortune trying to flash away from the enemy team. Can the second hook land? No, it hits a minion instead. LeBlanc flashing forward, casts the DFG, chases forward with both distortions, both the normal one and the ulti proc. Chain lands and locks up the Misfortune. However, she does manage to escape here with the Braum jumping in to save her life. She turns around, though, and goes down to the Kha'Zix, and the LeBlanc takes out Braum, as Warwick has found Nasus in the jungle. Nasus is going to flash over the wall as soon as Yasuo shows up. Very frightened of that guy, who's doing a lot of damage right now. Warwick getting exhausted. He really wants these stacks. He's going for every kill that he can find, but it looks like he's just going to be losing some more of those stacks as he goes down to Kha'Zix. And Warwick is currently at 3 stacks, at least better than his average so far of 2 on each of those stacking items, the Magi's and the Sword of the Occult. Speaking of builds, Yasuo with 17 kills already has an Infinity Edge, Ravenous Hydra, Static Shiv, and Last Whisper, and it looks like he's opting for a tanky item last, building that Giant's Belt. As purple team, or red team, whichever if you're colorblind or not, going for this Baron here, doing a lot of damage to it fairly quickly, and blue team does not have it adequately warded, so they do manage to take it out. Yasuo, though, is here, going to be doing a lot of damage, takes out the Kha'Zix nearly instantly, goes after the Nasus next, and takes him down, standing around in the Baron pit, waiting perhaps for some cooldowns, looking to go after this Thresh now with the Braum. Thresh turning around, Braum body blocks the hook, though, and then Yasuo gets a 3rd kill for himself. Now he's on a killing spree, has 20 kills, 7 deaths, and 2 assists. And, yeah, looks like he's going to be pushing up mid lane now with 3 members of purple team down for the count after Yasuo discovers them doing Baron. At least they did manage to secure that Baron, and they do have Baron buff on 2 of their more important members, at least more important to have the Baron buff on them, since it's going to be giving a lot of AD and AP to that LeBlanc and Sivir. Yasuo pushing up the top lane now. He has a lot of on-hit items in that build with the Static Shiv and the Ravenous Hydra, which means that his Q does actually apply on-hit effects to the first target hit. With Ravenous Hydra and Static Shiv means that whenever he Qs, it's going to be doing AoE damage as well. And if the Static Shiv is up, even more AoE damage, as Nasus gets ulted by the Yasuo, who's now chasing down onto the Sivir, going to be taking her out very quickly, going after LeBlanc. Now LeBlanc manages to distortion away as Misfortune's getting chased out by the Kha'Zix. She goes down as Yasuo picks up that double kill off to the side there. He gets hooked, gets a triple kill for himself onto the Kha'Zix after the hook wears off, but goes down to the LeBlanc, who picks up a double kill and the shutdown gold onto Yasuo there. I'm really, actually that is a 3-for-3 trade, both teams going down, so I think purple team though losing out there because they did lose a turret, and actually this dragon as well, as Warwick is going to be going after that solo, and certainly has the sustain to be able to take that by himself. He has a Spirit Visage as well as his passive, so he's going to be able to take that out, and both Nexus turrets for purple team have gone down to this onslaught of minions. There were 2 inhibitors down, and so super minions were just pouring into their base, as Warwick does a little bit of counter jungling, getting that blue buff that the enemies really have no chance of contesting here, being forced instead to just try their best to keep their Nexus from dying to all of these waves after waves of super minions. And there the camera moves, you can see that the hit point bar for the Nexus is in fact existent. It's just flying for some reason. It decided that it didn't like being lowly and attached to the ground, and has leapt up to the heavens and is soaring above the Nexus, flying free above the Nexus. The bugs are so strange sometimes, and I'm not just talking about Kha'Zix, but tish. As the Misfortune, looking at her build, has opted to go for a Banshee's Veil early. Only has 2 damage items on top of that, so really looking to try and survive against the LeBlanc and Kha'Zix, who are both leaping into the backlines and going after her whenever they get the opportunity to. That's going to lend her some more survivability there. Braum, choosing to continue to go for his armor-based build, has picked up a Thorn Mail on top of his Frozen Heart and Warden's Mail. Braum's ult being wasted there as the Kha'Zix managed to get away from it in time. Misfortune's ult barely doing anything, going over a few members of the enemy team. However, Yasuo is going to be coming in with a vengeance, doing a lot of damage to that LeBlanc, taking her out nearly immediately, taking another with him. After that, actually, no, nobody fell. As Misfortune now going to be going down to a final Q from the Nasus, who has finished his Infinity Edge, by the way, is going for a very heavily damaged build. And that is actually a turnaround fight for Purple Team. They are now even on kills on the board here. Yasuo is still a monster, though, 24-9. But they did get a 4-for-1 trade, and that's never a bad thing. And now they're going to be pushing up the mid lane, maybe going for this outer turret, perhaps more if they can get it. Sadly, Baron has not yet respawned, so they're not going to be able to take that, since it hasn't respawned since the last time they took it. However, Kha'Zix and Thresh are here on this second turret in the mid lane. Thresh lands a nice hook onto the Warwick there, who gets pulled back, does ult onto the Kha'Zix to try and take him out, gets exhausted though, and then goes down to the Thresh in the end, picking up that kill with a final little auto attack snuck in there between the Qs from Kha'Zix. And Purple Team picks up a turret for themselves, putting 5 turrets on the board now to the 11 from the enemy team, who have taken out every single turret on the map that Purple Team has, aside from that base laser, of course, in the fountain for Purple Team. Nasus trying to take advantage of the 4-for-1 trade, going into the top lane, but he gets caught out by the Yasuo, goes down nearly instantly. That last Q catching him after he flashes away. He does go down, giving Yasuo yet another kill, and that's not a good thing. These death timers are pretty long, and I don't think Purple Team can really sustain a 4v5, especially not for the next 45 seconds. Yasuo choosing to split push top lane after getting that kill, while some of his team members push up mid with that last super minion before the enemy team's inhibitor respawns, I believe. I think the respawning soon message just flashed across the screen. Baron's still not up for a little while yet. Otherwise, Blue Team would probably go for that and secure it pretty easily. They're instead choosing just to clear out some of their jungle, go for these buffs. As Purple Team is looking to try and get a pick here onto the Yasuo. Maybe they know that he's nearby. He did just push out a wave. He's at the red buff. Kha'Zix leaps in onto him with the LeBlanc. He puts out a wind wall, but it doesn't block anything at all. And the LeBlanc going to finish off that kill with the second proc of her chains. That's the Yasuo going down without taking anyone out. However, Blue Team has caught Purple Team in a bit of a disadvantage here. Going to be charging in with all that AoE damage from Victor and Misfortune. Victor getting his first kill there. Another one. Oh, no, actually, that last one goes to Misfortune, so that is 2 double kills, 1 going to Misfortune, 1 going to Victor, and even with the Yasuo going down early on in that fight, Victor gets found by the Nasus here. Can he kite him out? He does stun him up, and then the Misfortune has a red buff to slow him down, and the DFG active finishes off that kill for the ace. Blue Team now has a Warwick and a Braum on this Nexus. I don't think this is going to last very long. Warwick has a lot of attack speed with that Pharaoh Flare. And yeah, Victor's here as well. That is going to go down. 50 gold going over to, I believe Warwick picked it up there, but it doesn't really matter. It's the end of the game. Thanks for watching. Good game. Many thanks to Dr. Jekyll for the use of his replay. If you'd like your replay featured on the channel, check the description. You can figure out how to do that down there. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.